41% of registered voters believe it's likely we see Civil War II within the next 5 years.
You don't trust the election officials?
Nope.
You don't trust the FBI?
Nope.
You don't trust the courts?
Nope.
Who do you trust?
Trump.
They hate the other side. The term that both sides use, one against the other, but they have this in common is...
This is the 2021 survey of the Brookings Institution, considered one of the highly reliable sources. But shockingly, it claims 46% of Americans believe another civil war could potentially break out in the next few years. The question that's weighing heavy on everyone's mind is, will America ever heal its deep divisions, or are we headed towards an irreversible split? Hi guys. Today, we're talking about a serious issue that's causing a lot of worry in the country: the growing political divide in America. This divide is getting so bad that some people fear it could lead to an internal conflict, tearing the nation apart from the inside. It's a scary thought, but we need to talk about it as the situation is becoming more intense. The United States is facing a serious crisis as trust in democracy and institutions declines. The majority of Americans believe that US democracy is in crisis and at risk of failing. And this number became too bigger as nearly 2/3 of Americans say they are concerned about the growing extremism in the Republican Party. America is known for its strong democratic values, but why do the people start to neglect democracy in America? Let's understand this with this triangle model. 1. The influence of money in politics. The report says that money politics increased in the United States. The 2022 midterm elections cost over $16.7 billion, more than the GDP of many countries. This huge amount of money has led to pork barrel politics, which benefits the rich and powerful instead of the public. Another significant reason is the growing political polarization and partisan fights between the Democratic and Republican parties. The report states that the two parties increasingly see each other not only as political opponents, but also as a threat to the country, leading to discord between the two Americas and an unprecedented level of political polarization. This has resulted in a dysfunctional political system where the parties prioritize their own interests over the public interest. The report also says that in America, freedom of speech is often just in name. Partisan interests and money politics have weakened true free speech. The government closely watches and controls media and tech companies to push its own agenda and suppress unfavorable information. This hurts democracy. For example, the report explains how the US government interfered with Twitter's content moderation. They made blacklists to limit the visibility of unpopular accounts and worked with the FBI to monitor social media. This shows how the government uses its power to control public discussion and weaken democratic values. These are the three potential reasons why the people start neglecting their democracy. Now, you might be thinking, why actually, we were talking about the neglecting democracy instead of civil war. But let me tell you guys, the neglecting democracy is connected with the Civil War, and in the future, it leads to the Civil War in America. The report warns that as the 2024 election nears, the risk of political violence and civil unrest in the United States is growing. Despite law enforcement efforts since the January 6th attack, the country is still not ready to handle a possible far-right uprising. So there are the chances that while a complete civil war might not happen, there could still be small outbreaks of violence that spread disorder. This is because the country is very divided politically, and strong reactions from far-right groups show that MAGA enthusiasm is still very much alive. But wait a minute, America, who considered themselves as a superpower, how does it divide politically into different parts? The reason is simple. Political division in the United States is a big problem. Republicans and Democrats now see each other not just as opponents, but as threats to the country. This level of intense dislike between parties is new and has made the political system dysfunctional. Instead of focusing on what's best for everyone, each party puts its own interests first. This situation could lead to civil war in America because when political divisions deepen to the point where each side sees the other as a threat, it creates a volatile environment. If disagreements escalate and violence erupts, it could spiral out of control. The polarization and extreme distrust between groups make it difficult to find common ground or peaceful solutions. And as history shows that sustained political unrest and violence can escalate into full-scale conflict, especially if key events or elections intensify tensions further. Therefore, the current polarization and potential for violence are warning signs that the country needs to address to prevent a more serious breakdown of civil order. However, the political stability is not only the cause that leads the America to the Civil War. There are also some major loopholes in the country that are damaging it and have the potential to make it worse in the future. One big problem is economic inequality and instability. The gap between rich and poor is widening. As of late 2022, according to Snopes, 735 billionaires collectively possessed more wealth than the bottom half of U.S. households, $4.5 trillion and $4.1 trillion respectively. The top 1% held a total of $43.45 trillion, and that's really a very big number. Another issue is the erosion of democratic norms and trust in government. When people lose faith in elections and think the system is rigged, it can lead to protests and even violence. Weapons and extremist groups also pose a serious threat. With so many guns in civilian hands and extremist networks growing, the risk of violence and terrorism is higher than ever. And let's not forget about foreign interference and geopolitical games. Other countries might see America's turmoil as a chance to cause trouble or weaken its global influence. Plus, technology plays a role too. Misinformation spreads fast online. However, does the American Civil War only impact America? Of course not. The impact of the American Civil War extends far beyond US borders, shaping global history in several profound ways. First, it reshaped global power dynamics by decisively favoring the northern states over the Southern Confederacy. This shift reduced the influence of pro-slavery policies and expanded the reach of industrial capitalism, altering international perceptions of American leadership. Economically, the Civil War triggered a worldwide crisis in the cotton industry. The Union's blockade of Confederate ports disrupted cotton exports, affecting textile manufacturers in Europe and Asia. This crisis accelerated global colonization efforts as imperial powers sought new sources of raw materials beyond the disrupted American supply. Moreover, the Civil War's abolition of slavery and subsequent civil rights amendments inspired movements for equality worldwide. The U.S. struggle for freedom influenced independence movements in places like India and South Africa, echoing the call for human rights and equality on a global scale. Culturally, the Civil War's impact resonates through art, literature, and historical memory. It spawned numerous creative works that continue to shape public understanding of the conflict and its enduring legacy. These representations not only reflect societal values but also contribute to ongoing discussions about identity, race, and justice. In today's interconnected world, technological advancements play a critical role. The rapid spread of misinformation online fuels division and distrust, amplifying social tensions and complicating efforts to heal historical wounds. Addressing these challenges requires a nuanced understanding of how historical events like the Civil War continue to influence contemporary global dynamics. Overall, the American Civil War stands as a pivotal event in world history, leaving a legacy that continues to resonate through political, economic, social, and cultural landscapes worldwide. So folks, as we see the potential causes that will happen if the Civil War happens. But is it really impossible to stop this civil war? Definitely not. Here are the 3 steps to prevent a civil war in the United States in 2024. Dialogue and mediation. Encourage dialogue between opposing groups to understand their grievances and find common ground through mediation and negotiation. Strengthen democratic institutions. Reinforce the resilience of democratic institutions by upholding the rule of law, ensuring fair electoral processes, and promoting transparency and accountability. Promote unity and understanding. Foster national unity by promoting tolerance, understanding, and respect for diverse viewpoints. Address societal divisions and work towards reconciliation. These steps, rooted in historical context and understanding of past conflicts, aim to mitigate tensions and promote stability in challenging times. However, most experts agree that a full-scale civil war in the United States in 2024 is unlikely. The majority of Americans oppose such a scenario, and the US military is unlikely to support or participate in internal conflict. However, there is concern about potential political and social unrest following the 2024 election, especially given the divisions within American society. Issues such as political disputes over election results, regional differences, and societal polarization could contribute to heightened tensions. Therefore, while the likelihood of a civil war is deemed low by experts, the possibility of significant unrest or localized conflicts cannot be entirely ruled out, depending on how political events unfold and societal tensions evolve in the coming years.